Hello and welcome to another episode of Standard Killer Projects. Today we're going to do the 500-mile oil change, which is done just like any other oil change, to my wife's 2023 Honda Passport 3.5 liter Trail Sport. Before we get started, I have to mention, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out our channel. I hate having to say it all the time, but it's kind of one of those things that keeps our channel going, especially subscriptions right now. It's what we're looking for, so please make sure to subscribe. Alright, so for this oil change, I have the car on a drive-up ramp. If you're going to do it by a drive-up ramp, that works just fine. If you're going to use a jack and a jack stand, I would use the jack off of the lower control arm, and then I would put the jack stand somewhere on this point of the frame. This bolt is a strong point. If you could saddle it or get somewhere in around on the flat surface of this point. This part of the frame right here is very, very thick. You're less likely to bend something or mess something up. Don't jack off of the body. If you do that, as you can see, there's no real structure over there. It's mostly just bracing for that outer valance or rocker panel. All the lifting points need to happen up in this area. If you try to use the cross member for the engine, it is very, very thin. I wouldn't even recommend trying to do that. Generally, you lift up the driver's side, which is the other side of me, and then the drain plug is generally on the passenger side. In this case, the drain plug is right here. It takes a 17mm wrench, and then the filter is sitting way over here. It's actually directly on top of this frame section here. It's probably going to end up making a mess because it's going to spill around both sides, but we'll do our best to keep it as clean as possible. Alright, so once you have the drain plug loose, unscrew it all the way until it comes out, and then allow all the oil to run into the oil pan. This oil is still very clean looking because we're doing the oil change at 500 miles. This is a engine break-in style oil change. Okay, so to give you a better view of the oil filter, it is that blue guy right there. In the front of the A-arm, just barely sticking through the wheel well. They actually make that opening over there so it's easier for you to access it because it's sitting on top of that frame member. So you need to get a strap wrench or a set of pliers that are designed for pulling a filter off in a position that is way up there. All right, just to show you how they put it in a bad spot, you can actually see oil on both sides of that frame section there. The oil actually runs right and left because of how they put that oil filter adapter set it for this 3.5. They put it far, far, far to the right. Once you have the oil filter out, you need to make sure that that black O-ring right there is taken out with the filter. If not, when you go to put the new filter on, you'll double stack the O-rings. You double stack the O-rings, your engine will leak. Once the engine oil has completed draining out of the oil pan, replace the drain pan screw and tighten down. Once you do that, there is a setting in the book that says that this needs to be set down to 29 foot-pounds. I don't know too many people that actually do that, so I just put it down to where it's nice and snug. I don't slam it down super hard. Next thing that I need to do is clean up all this oil off of both sides of this and install the oil filter. Oil change, we'll be using the Fram PH7317. You can use the 7317 for any of the Fram products if you want to get a different style filter. That 7317 also works for the STP part number if you're going to use the S7317. Also, we're going to be using a full synthetic on this one. They recommend a full synthetic for the 3.5 liter and also the 020 weight. It takes 5.7 quarts, which is one of these full 5-quart bottles, and then 3/4 of 1-quart jug. Because I'm doing all the oil changes here, I'm using another jug. We'll just pull a little bit out of this one to finish it, and then this is gonna go completely into there. So I like to pre-fill my oil filters. If you decide to pre-fill your filter or not, you need to take a little teeny bit of oil and rub it around this outer seal. That helps it tighten down properly inside of the engine compartment when it crushes up to the seal plate that's above it. So as you can see there, in between the gap between the oil pan and the frame section, there's a threaded bit. I'm only showing this because I didn't show you me unscrewing it. You spin this on clockwise until it comes to a stop, and then go a quarter turn past snug. That's where the filter gets set. Okay, since this is a break-in oil change, when you look at the oil, you're going to see little bits of metal and brass, which is common. You need to check the quality of it. If you see a lot of brass, if you see a lot of metal or big chunks of it, that's a bad sign. This is actually fairly consistent with what a regular first break-in oil change should look like. You do have a tendency to get more metal and stuff inside that first oil change. That's why you do it early, so you don't start dragging that metal around for the next 2,500 miles and causing damage to the engine. So now that your oil drain pan plug is in and your oil filter is back in place, on the right side of the motor is your filler plug. Unscrew that cap off and put a funnel in there, and then fill it up with oil. So if you're using one of the 5-quart jugs for your 7/10 of a quart that you need to get you to 5.7 quarts, the side of the jug actually has a meter on it. It'll start out with 5 quarts, then it has a 4.5 and 4 mark. As long as you're just above halfway between the 4.5 and the 4, you're right about the 0.7. So this is how I'm going to do it. This quart will actually stick around for the next handful of oil changes, and then I'll buy another 5-quart jug to dump in, and then I'll just keep subtracting and subtracting until I run out of this one. Filling the engine, take your funnel out, put your your filler plug back in place. This is one of the things that lots of people forget to do. It's very, very important that this goes back in before you do anything else. So now that this has happened, we're going to put the car on the ground. We'll take it off of whatever jacking system that you decide to use. Okay, so there's a couple things that we're going to do now that the car is on the ground. One of the things is check the oil. We need to get the oil up to temperature before we do that. As you can see, I've just started the car, so it's not up to temperature yet. But I'm also going to show you how to reset your oil life, which is really, really easy to do on these Hondas. All you have to do is go to settings. There's one that says vehicle. You click on that. You go down to where it says maintenance information. You click on that. There's one that says engine oil. You click on that, and it will ask you, do you want to reset your engine oil life? In this case, I do not want to reset the engine oil life because I want it to subtract the oil life off of that 500-mile oil change that I did. So in this case, I'm going to cancel. Normally you would hit reset and it'll move this back to 100%. So one thing I did want to show is there is a secondary way to get to your oil life, but I don't believe you can clear it from there. So when you're on your main screen, if you hit the home button, which is this one here, it will take you into the menu. If you scroll all the way down to where it says maintenance and click enter, and then find oil life and click that, it will show your oil life. I believe on older Hondas you used to be able to clear it from here. I don't think you can clear it from this. You have to do it through the entertainment system now. Okay, so once the oil change is completed, the engine is warmed up, what you need to do is look for this guy inside the engine bay, pull it out, and check the oil on level flat ground with the car warmed up and off. Once you pull the dipstick, pull it out once and wipe it, put it back down in again, and then pull it again. You should see the oil at the top of the cross hatching. This shows that your oil is within range. If it's below, it's too low. If it's above it, it's too high. While this oil change may seem like it's just about done, we're pretty close. But you need to take the car for a test drive. After you've taken it for a test drive, you need to crawl down underneath the car and look at this passenger side frame rail to make sure there's no oil building up on top of it and that nothing is actively leaking off of it. If you double stack the oil filters, or if you over tighten the oil filters, or even left the oil filter too loose, it will be leaking. You can also look at your drain pan screw to make sure there's no oil coming off of it, like it had a bad washer behind it. All these checks need to be done before you go drive the car regularly, but make sure you at least drive it around the block, get a little heat on it, give it some RPMs, and make sure it doesn't cycle with oil leaking under it. So that's going to do it for this episode of Sandy Killer Projects. If you like what you saw, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out our channel. We ask that people subscribe, because that's the one thing we need to get our channel towards monetization. We're almost there. It's a big goal for me and the channel, so I'd greatly appreciate it if you took the time to watch it, and make sure to subscribe to our channel.